First of all, the purpose. So I'll discuss the purpose, the content, the methodology, some of the outputs we expect from students, and then the rest is material matters. So the focus will be on the first four issues. The first is a methodological purpose. We're talking comparative things here. So the methodological purpose is be more familiar with multiple case studies. I think that's crucial. We're having comparative country studies here, and it's important that this kind of multiple embedded case study is a focus, looking at public management reforms in a political administrative system. That's the first purpose. Second purpose is the content purpose. It's important to transfer knowledge, quite precise knowledge on public management reform itself. So the focus will also be on reform trajectories, as we've used the word previously. They're complex, they often avoid questions. Sometimes we just live with cliches of what happens in a country. But to know exactly what happens in a country is not an easy issue. So content is a purpose. We want to transform knowledge, precise knowledge on public management reform in particular countries. And there will be a mixture of countries which, and I will use the words warm, lukewarm and cold approaches to the reform agenda. So I think this is the most diplomatic classifications I could find. Third purpose is a critical purpose. It's not the WYSIWYG. What you see is not always what you get in public management reform. So be more aware of the complexities and the different points of view. Where you stand is where you sit. If you look at public management reform, you talk to line managers, the top of the line management, the middle management, the finance people, the audit people. Sometimes you get different stories. Where you stand is where you sit. So it's be more aware of the complexities and the points of view in public management reform literature. Fourth, encyclopedic purpose. Be more familiar with the factual and interacting trajectories. That refers to the content purpose, of course. But then also operational purpose and strategic purpose. The operational purpose is be more familiar with how these principles of change are applied in practical documents, in procedures. So don't put the grassroots from that point of view. And the strategic one is a more normative one. I think it's important that students develop a prospective idea. What is their own value systems as far as reform strategies is concerned? Decentralization, centralization. It's not a neutral thing. And the question is, can we convey this message and try to develop the awareness that it's important to have your own ideas? The question I always ask my students is, suppose you are the minister, responsible minister, what would you do? And why would you do it? I mean, that's the ultimate question, isn't it? The content, how shall we do that? There are two parts, two blocks. The first has 8 topics which we want to cover. The first is on comparing public management systems. And the second is on a more operational level, measuring and controlling performance in the public sector. So the first is the framework, and the second part is going into precise documents and details, and the common denominator here is the word performance. Not in a rhetorical way, but in a practical way. What does it mean? And to give it substance. Because it becomes abstract for students to talk about performance. It becomes rhetorical. So you want to give it, at the end of the module, they should have a precise idea of what it means to talk about performance management, for example, as the common denominator of public management reform. The first part has 8 topics. So the first is what is public management and what is reform. I think that's quite acceptable to start with definitional things. Second, it's on modeling. How do we model reform? It says it's not in a normative sense of the word, so it's not a consultant report here saying this is the single question and the single answer, and there's a one-to-one relationship between the two. It's about modeling public management reform. How can we set up a framework to describe management reform? What are the parameters we have to look at? The third is the context, the political administrative context of these management reforms. The fourth is the different trajectories, and the focus could be on personnel, organization, finance, indicators. So that's the different trajectories. The fifth is results. Actually, it's about the statements of our changes. We've just heard the Commission's this morning's Commission's. The reforms have been a tremendous success because ... The changes we made in our country were a tremendous success because, and then the question is, what is this ... How do we analyze this results thing? When would you say that the change was a result? How do we structure this information? So that's that discussion. And of course, it's not a pure technical thing, it's a value thing too. The sixth, balance of power, because public management, that's what we want to convey too. It's not just about methods and techniques, it's not a pure technical thing. It affects the power of balance in systems. And we want to put this in the context of rebalancing the power. 7, this is the thing about, as I just said, public management reform is not about a single question and a single answer and a one-to-one relationship between these two. It's about managing ambiguity and trade-offs and dilemmas and paradoxes. So we want to bring that into it. So it's to create an optimal level of confusion, which should be stimulating for researchers and for students. And 8 is then the final picture on linking management and governance. So that's the 8 topics for the first part. The second part focuses on 4 topics. First, so that's the meat. We have the skeleton, we have the structure, we have the framework, the mindset, and now the meat. The meat consists of 4 points. Performance measurement systems. It's like the common denominator. Briefly, something about that. What is the substance here? And then three applications, 3 translations into reality based on existing documents. A performance-based budget. Have you ever seen this? Have you taken this? Have you looked at it? Well, we will try to discuss it. A performance-based budget. How does it look like? A performance audit and a performance-based contract. These are the 3 types of entrance which we want to look at. The general methodology is that each student chooses a country, his or her home country, and one of the OECD countries. So more of, let's say, a country that has experimented more with these issues. There is the way we would do this, the second part, is with role plays. So we would simulate a parliamentary commission with majority and opposition to discuss a performance-based budget. The audit would be again a role play between parliament and government. So there will be 2 students groups discussing an audit, the government and MPs. And the third, the contract, would be a simulated discussion between the minister and a top civil servant. And to say, I as a minister, what do I want in a contract? Or what if I'm the civil servant and I can write my own contract, what would I definitely want to be in it and what do I definitely do not want to be in it? And of course it would lead to a contradictory debate, and that's ultimately the purpose of the exercise. So the products would be obviously something on paper. I dare not pronounce the word book, but it would be something on paper, which has, like, by coincidence, the shape of a book. That's the content part. But we will also go beyond that and look for a CD-ROM version or a web-based thing. But like all the difficult things, that would be the next stage. That would be for the students, and there would also be like a manual for the instructor on how to run these things. The different items in block 1, and of course the scenario for the role plays and the interaction with students and all the tricks to polarize the discussions between in the parliamentary commission, etc., and between minister and civil service, and between government and parliament as the role plays. It would be conceived as a module which could be spread over time in a semester or condensed. The second part, part one would be compulsory, and then the part two, there would be optional things for the role plays, so it would be really modular inside the module, meta-modular, as some would call it. And,
thank you, Geert. Questions, comments? Yes?
I'm not talking about the contents, because I mean, if we want to comment all the contents of 5-minute presentation, but 40 lines presentation would be difficult. Regarding, you know, the format, how to teach students. Now that I am in the distance learning university, I'm very concerned on that. And I think that we are thinking a bit traditionally about how to reach the material to students. And I just want to give that to the floor and think that we should try to give our lectures, videotape them, and have them in the web. And that is a move forward. It's quite vividly, and for working groups from different countries would also work quite well if we just deploy the way to do it. I only wanted to give that to you, Geert, that you have the material and the contents, and think about it. Will be quite ideal if we could achieve this kind of training in this context, which is so far away from each other in countries.
Right, thank you. Will you tackle that later on? Yeah. Comment now?
Yeah, just a simple question. Whether Geert could tell us a little bit about the size of this module, because it seems huge.
my perspective is always eternity. So, from that point of view, but that's why also including options inside it is enough. I've been thinking about how many days would this last, how many months, how many years, lifelong learning, etc. But I think pragmatically we will have to condense certain things, yes. But the question is indeed what will be the optimal size of a module. I'm not sure if there are instructions from heaven on that issue.
No, in the right direction.
Well, no. Well, I can't look in the direction of the Commission, so I'm looking in your direction.
No, I think that's something that needs to be developed this afternoon in the some kind of standardization. I think the idea that what you call meta-modular is a good idea. So some building blocks. But I guess one of the part of the debate this afternoon has to be what is the euro in this sense. What is the unit of organization? And that we need to decide preliminary on that. I would rather leave that open to the ones that are in charge at the moment than that somebody from heaven or from the Commission is going to say how it should be done. But that's what we're looking in your, because there are many ways you can do that. That would be very helpful actually if you agree to some kind of a standard, and this would be a nice structure or building block. We have that in the past, so these simple formats every now and then, and also for setting up joint masters and joint programs. But they came out of these kind of groups, so that is, I think, a very important task for the group as a whole. Right.